Hello friends, welcome to Akul Mic Live. I am Chandrakant. Today we would like to discuss about how state of Hyderabad got integrated into India during 1947 at the time of independence. And for this discussion, it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be a sort of a brief history for all of us, and many people may not know, what actually happened and what are the kind of efforts the Indian government and the founding fathers had to do to integrate India. And this is going to be very nice learning for all of us. So stick around to this outstanding show which is coming up. But friends, also stay till the end because there is a free giveaway, and we will tell you in the end how you can actually win your free gift. So let's start our discussion. Friends, let me introduce our guest today. His name is Mr. Jeet Bhatt. He is a practicing lawyer at Ahmedabad High Court, and we are very honored to have him here on our show. Today, we want to discuss about how Hyderabad was included in India during after the independence during before 1950s. So Jeet will update us more on this from the legal aspect. So without further ado, let me have Jeet talk to you.
Hello, Chandrakant. Thank you for having me on this show. And I'm looking forward for this discussion with regards to the state of Hyderabad during the independence and how it got integrated into India.
Yeah, certainly, Jeet. In fact, there were a lot of stories, and there could be some misconceptions also among the people. And what really transpired, because I think one thing that we know as normal Indian citizen is that Hyderabad wanted to merge in with Pakistan and not with India. And then what happened? So we would like to know from you.
Yes, Chandrakant, certainly it's a very interesting historical feat that India achieved by integrating Hyderabad after so much of turmoil and after so much that went into the discussions, negotiations, persuasions, when Sardar Patel was at the helm of affairs as the Minister of the Ministry of States, and also the role played by Lord Mountbatten and also VP Singh, VP Menon, who was the Secretary of the Ministry of States. So certainly a very interesting historical feat achieved, and let me give you the brief background how it happened. Uh, so basically, Hyderabad state was founded originally by Mir Kamruddin in the year 19 in the 17th century, and he was made the viceroy of the Deccan by Aurangzeb's successor. Now, the Emperor Muhammad Shah conferred on him the title of Asaf Jah. So that is how the dynasty came to be known as the Asaf Jah dynasty, which was ruled by the Nizams of Hyderabad. So the in 1911, the Nizam was Mir Usman Ali Khan Bahadur, who had succeeded the Gadi and was the seventh Nizam of the state of Hyderabad. Now, geographically, Hyderabad was in the heart of the country, and also it was a very rich state with regards to population, revenue, and its importance. And it connected North India to South India. So it was in the center and the heart of the country. Now, at that time, the Nizam was ruling an area of around 82,000 square miles. And the Hyderabad state had its own coinage, currency, and also stamps. Now, the population of Hyderabad, interestingly, was predominantly Hindus, whereas it was ruled by a Muslim ruler. So around 80 or more than 80% of the population were Hindus. But the civil services, the police, the army, and all other services and posts were predominantly occupied by the Muslims. And even the Legislative Assembly, which was set up in 1946, had majority Muslims over Hindus. So when the Independence Act of 1947 was implemented by the Britishers on 3rd June 1947, the Nizam issued a farman declaring his intention of not joining either Pakistan or India, as he wanted to become an independent state from 15th August 1947. Now, under the Indian Independence Act, all the rulers were had the option of either acceding to India or to Pakistan, or to retain its sovereignty and declare itself to be an independent state. But it is because that independence was given to them, the Nizam thought it fit to declare himself to be a sovereign state and to have an independent state where he would be ruling. So he did not want to accede to India, as that would have compromised his sovereignty and therefore his delegation, which he had sent to the Ministry of States in Delhi, suggested and also threatened that if he was pressurized into acceding to India, he would rather consider joining Pakistan. And also certainly Pakistan influence was also there, and also they were prompting him and also supplying with a lot of arms ammunition. So therefore that angle was also there, and at that time also there were issues with regards to Kashmir. So so therefore the India could also not put much pressure. And also Hyderabad was a very rich state, and the Nizam had a lot of revenues, because in that time the annual revenue of Hyderabad was around rupees 26 crore, with a population of around 16 million people. So therefore, it was certainly a rich state. It was not like any other state or any other ruler which would have easily acceded to India, or would have agreed to accede by even showing some pressure or using some tact or persuasion skills. So that time it was very difficult to accede Hyderabad into India. So later on, Lord Mountbatten was trying to persuade the Nizam that the correct course for him and the best course for him was to accede to India, because geographically it was in contiguity with India, and also culturally it had the same culture with the neighboring states. So since every other ruler had already taken a decision to accede to India by or before 15th August 1947, only three states had not acceded to India, and that were Jammu and Kashmir, Hyderabad, and Mysore. So, at Lord Mountbatten's insistence, the period was extended for these states for a further period of 3 months in order to continue with the negotiations. Now, the delegation which was sent by Nizam were pressing for not a treaty of accession, but a treaty of association. Now, that was not acceptable to India, because India had entered into an instrument of accession with all other rulers. And if it would have entered into an instrument of association with Hyderabad, that would then there would be a charge of distrust and breach of condition with the other rulers, and other rulers would also come and say that now this is because you are negotiating with Hyderabad and Hyderabad is not agreeing, so you want to agree with all the conditions that Hyderabad is putting. So therefore, Sardar Patel was not in favor of even the slightest of variation in the instrument of accession. So therefore, the negotiations with Hyderabad and its delegations were not fruitful. But ultimately, later on, the the Ministry of States agreed to enter into a standstill agreement, which were in with the British paramountcy, and the state of Hyderabad would continue with the Indian dominant taking over the British Commonwealth. So that agreement, after a lot of negotiations, was finally concluded, and the final draft was, the delegation then said that it would take the draft to Hyderabad, and it took the draft to the Nizam on 22nd of October, and they promised it to bring it back on 26th of October 1947. But on 26th October 1947, when the Nizam was to sign it, the standstill agreement, he postponed the signing it for the next day. Now, on 27th October 1947, around 25 to 30,000 crowd gathered around the house of the advisors of the Nizam, who were going to take the instrument of standstill agreement to Delhi, and they did not allow that to happen. They also did not allow the Nizam to sign the instrument, the standstill agreement. So therefore, this agreement failed and did not reach Delhi on 26th. And at that time, you must be aware that there was a private militia in the name of Razakars, which was a private militia uh, who was ruled by one person called Qasim Rizvi, who was a fanatic and wanted a theocratic state to be formed in Hyderabad, and he did not want Hyderabad to accede to India. Rather, he was wanting Hyderabad to accede to Pakistan. So this Qasim Rizvi, who was the founder of the Razakars, and basically Razakars, the word means that he's a volunteer who is doing social service, but rather it was a private militia and was creating havoc in the state of Hyderabad, and the Nizam did not have any control over him. In fact, what happened is he intervened and he said that you don't enter into this standstill agreement, and let there be another delegation be sent to Delhi and renegotiate the terms of the standstill agreement. And also, we will not accede to India, and we will rather enter into a treaty of association rather than a treaty of accession. So they wanted to take advantage of the situation which India was at that time because of the problem with Kashmir. As on 26th October, also the tribals had attacked Kashmir and entered into Kashmir. So therefore, on 31st October, the Nizam wrote a letter to Lord Mountbatten stating that the negotiations have failed, but we want to renegotiate. And to which Lord Mountbatten was furious and said that once having agreed, and also the final draft being ready, and just your signatures were to be put into that standstill agreement, why have you changed your mind? But in response to that letter, the Nizam said that if government of India were to break down the negotiation, he would immediately negotiate and conclude an agreement with Pakistan. So these were the threats which were coming from Nizam and the Razakars, who were in control over the entire ministry and the administration in Hyderabad. Now, thereafter, he appointed a new Prime Minister, Mr. Liaq Ali, in the Executive Council of the Nizam at the behest of Qasim Rizvi. And therefore, the entire Hyderabad government came virtually under the control of Qasim Rizvi, who was the head of these Razakars. Now, this Rizvi personally went to Delhi and threatened Sardar Patel and also VP Menon, and said that if government of India persisted on plebiscite, then the sword would be the final arbiter. So this was the situation, and this is how they wanted to threaten. Not only that, they also did not want to bring in a responsible government. They wanted to rule themselves in an autocratic and in an authoritarian manner by use of sword and by use of force, and did not want the people to have their rights in the state of Hyderabad. Now, despite this, the government of India knew the delicate situation, and they wanted to continue with the negotiations because they knew that 85% of the population of Hindus were under the direct threat of these Razakars. And therefore, the situation was very delicate, and even otherwise, there was a lot of communal tension at that time due to partition. So thereafter, ultimately on 29th November 1947, the government of India accepted all the suggestions made by the Hyderabad Executive Council, and ultimately entered into a standstill agreement. And that standstill agreement was only for a period of 1 year. So that standstill agreement with regards to the arrangements which were made were that the administrative arrangements on matters of common concern, namely defense, external affairs, and communication, and which existed between the Crown and Hyderabad before transfer of power, would be continued. And this settlement made it clear on the part of the government of India that Hyderabad would at least for 1 year not accede to Pakistan. So that was the only gain which India had at that time over the situation in Hyderabad. But under that standstill agreement, which was entered, the Hyderabad government could not have any say with regards to external affairs. So they could not have their agents in, say, countries like Europe and USA, like delegates or councillors, which a country could have. But they wanted to show their dominant position, and they wanted to have these sort of councillor services, and they appointed a public relation officer in Pakistan, in Karachi. Even after entering with this standstill agreement, they issued two important firmans immediately, wherein the first imposed restrictions on export of all precious metal from India, from Hyderabad to India, and the second declared Indian currency to be not legal tender in state. So now, how a state which wants to become a part of a country can say that we will not accept your currency, or say that we will not export any precious metal out into the country from my state. So no state can do such a thing in a federal structure. So therefore, these were the problems which they were creating, and therefore the government of India ultimately told them that this violates the standstill agreement, and also the activity of the Razakars has to be stopped, and the violence which is being committed clearly comes to such a situation that there is a lot of internal disturbance in Hyderabad. So so thereafter, despite a warning from the Indian government, the Hyderabad government did not stop that, did not withdraw these farmans. And on the contrary, the government of India came to know that the state of Hyderabad had advanced a loan of rupees 20 crores to Pakistan at that time. So, which otherwise a state which wants to accede to India cannot do. The government of Gujarat cannot advance loan to different countries without the permission of the center, because that is the external affairs is only with the central government. So India as a representative will discuss with foreign countries, not a state government. So therefore, these all activities had been started and continued by the state of Hyderabad. And also, this Qasim Rizvi started making objectionable communal speeches because Hyderabad was also expecting some retaliation or reaction from the government of India. So therefore, there was a lot of mistrust amongst government of India and state of Hyderabad, and this dominant class in the state of Hyderabad. So they started making objectionable speeches and also started using force, and they started looting the border areas in the state of Madras, where the villages were looted. There was arson, there was murder, rape, etc. by these Razakas and also by the Hyderabad troops in different territories of state of Bombay, in state of Madras, and also in other adjoining states. So state of Madras had to sought for the military aid of the government of India, and they had sought for this military help. But the government of India did not want to immediately react and send its military, because it wanted to negotiate and in a peaceful manner convince the rulers that the best option for the state of Hyderabad was to accede into the Indian dominion. Now, at that time, the Razakars were perpetuating crime after crime. And on 17th June 1948, the negotiations with regards to the agreement of accession had completely failed. And Lord Mountbatten, who was the last British Governor General of India, was to leave on 21st June 1948. And till that time, this is the only state which he could not convince. And even he mentioned that he was very disturbed by the manner in which Hyderabad state was functioning. But he was also of the opinion that the Indian government should try its best to resolve through negotiations and not through use of force or military. So another incident that was quite disturbing was that the member of the Executive Council of the Nizam, Mr. J.V. Joshi, resigned, and he gave his reasons for resigning, that there was a complete breakdown of law and order situation in the state of Hyderabad. The police, he said that the police had also joined with the Razakars in looting, arson, rape, and molestation of the territories of Hyderabad and most of the Hindus. There were 10,000 Congress members who were put in jail and were detained by these Razakars and Hyderabad police, because they were wanting a responsible government in the state of Hyderabad, which was accepted by all the rulers in all different states, and therefore they were merged with the union government. Now, these Razakars were so dominant and so powerful that they had an army of around 2 lakh personals with small arms. And the state forces, the state military of Hyderabad had around 42,000 members. And also they had imported Pathans into the state as for their military. So that was the powerful military that the Nizam had. In the month of August, because there was no the negotiations were not taking any fruitful step, and they were to a stalemate position. The Nizam wrote to the United Nations requesting to arbitrate between Hyderabad and India. But the president of the United Nations at that time refused, saying that it was a domestic matter between the state of Hyderabad and the Dominion of India. So they did not intervene. But despite that, the Hyderabad government sent its delegation to America to present their case before the Security Council of the UN. And so they wanted international pressure to be brought on India so that India could not use force. Because if India was trying to use force, they could have brought military pressure, because even the Nizam was a well-connected person at that time. In fact, he was one of the most richest person in the world in those days. So, so ultimately, the situation was such that India was not in a position to negotiate or bring in any fruitful result for the Hindu majority in Hyderabad. So ultimately, in the month of uh, September, the government of India decided that there is no other alternative except to send the military force, and therefore the military force under the direction of Lieutenant General Commanding in Chief Maharaj Sri Rajendra Singh, it was decided that he would be the chief of the operation, and the operation was given the name of Operation Polo by the army headquarters. And this operation began on 13th September, when the army entered into the state of Hyderabad, first from the Solapur Hyderabad road, and another division from the Bezwada Hyderabad road. And it was met with a strong resistance of the Razakars and the Hyderabad army. But ultimately, that lasted for only 5 days, from 13th September to 18th September. And in fact, on 17th September itself, the resistance collapsed. And on 17th September, the Hyderabad army surrendered, and the Indian army entered into the Hyderabad city and took over the reins. And the cabinet of the Nizam resigned, and the military commander was to be in charge of the administration. So Major General Chaudhary took charge as military governor on 18th September, and all the leading Razakars were arrested. Even Qasim Rizvi was arrested on 19th September. And on 23rd September 1948, the Nizam withdrew the Hyderabad case from the Security Council of the United Nations as well. And ultimately, he entered into the Treaty of Accession and became a part of the Indian dominion. Though India at that time could have, in fact, de-recognized him as a Nizam, but India did not abolish the Nizam because it believed that that would unsettle, that would have an unsettling effect on the Muslim community. And once a fully democratic government was established in the state of Hyderabad, then there would be no trouble from the Nizam and his personals. So therefore, both Sardar Patel and Nehru agreed that he should not be abolished. But in fact, he was given a very, very heavy privy purse, which was fixed at rupees 50 lakhs per annum in the year 1948-49. And ultimately, the administration was of Hyderabad was under the military governor for a period of 1.5 years, and thereafter under the direct control of the government of India for another period of 2 years. So ultimately, after 1952, the state government was set up, and this is how, through Operation Polo, military operation, that Hyderabad was taken over and had to accede to the dominion of India and became a part of India. But through a lot of bloodshed, because these Razakars, it is in fact, there was a lot of massacre in Hyderabad, and it is estimated around more than 2 lakh people lost their life.
That is very bad. In fact, is it true, Jeet, that they not only wanted to join Pakistan, but they also wanted India to agree to a strip of road which will connect Hyderabad with Pakistan, and they also wanted that to be part of the Pakistan territory once they join. Is it true?
So, in fact, they had a lot of crazy demands at that time when there were negotiations happening for accession. But India did not give in to such demands of the Hyderabad rulers or the Hyderabad cabinet.
I think
In
this
fact,
is a
yes, yes.
I think this is a great learning for all of us, and it's a great historic lesson that while 500 and odd princely states actually joined India or Pakistan, but then there were few who were creating problems, and this was one of them which created such a big problem for us. But I think I also heard that after the succession and when Hyderabad territory joined India, Nizam left India with his riches. Is it true?
Well, he for the rest of his life lived abroad, but he was guaranteed a very heavy FT privy purse, and also he was one of the richest Nizams. So probably he left, but still he donated and did a lot of activities, and thereafter showed his loyalty to India.
Well, one of our office, my company's office, are in Hyderabad, and Hyderabad is a very, it's a very, it's a visiting, worth visiting place because there are a lot of riches in Hyderabad. There are at least 15 to 20 museums which were Nizam's property. In fact, there is one museum called Salar Jung Museum, which was the wardrobe of Nizam. And it's like a multi-story building, and you can't actually visit the entire building in one day. You will need at least a week to just walk around the wardrobe. So this is the kind of riches Nizam had. He had a lot of gold with him, and I think that really fueled the Razakars during this process.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, when you see the life of these princes and these rulers, you will be amazed that these rulers had such a lavish lifestyle when the entire country was under so much of poverty. But that is why the rulership had to go, monarchy had to go, and democracy had to set in so that everybody's voices could be heard, people could be given their due rights, natural rights, the birth rights, human rights. And it was very important that rulership should come to an end and India should become a republic and a democratic country, because that was the only way forward for this country to truly achieve its potential.
Absolutely, Jeet. I think I'm very pleased and very glad that you came on the show and gave us the history behind what really happened between India and how Hyderabad actually got integrated into India. In fact, there is a very nice palace, also very world-renowned, World Heritage Palace called Falaknuma Palace, which is now owned by Tata Properties, and that is also worth visiting place. And so Hyderabad has become a tourist attraction now for India.
No, absolutely. It's now one of the most developed cities in India, and also a lot of industries and software industries also. So no doubt today it is a very fast developing city and state in the country. But this is what it has gone through, and one must never forget the lessons from the past while moving ahead.
Absolutely, Jeet. And so thank you so much for giving us the entire detail of what really happened step by step. And I'm sure the viewers will be able to understand in a very short period of time, in 10 to 15 minutes, what really happened, what were the options India had, and what was going on at that point in time. So next week, Jeet, we will discuss about Jammu and Kashmir. And for today, I'd like to say goodbye, only to catch you next week.
Thank you, Chandrakant, for having me.
We have some unique Akulmek memorabilia which will make you look outstanding. The graphics on these corporate gifts are based on the global best business practices. To become recipient of one of these gifts for free, you have to watch this video till the end and provide your valuable comments. Or you can also share your experiences. The person who makes the best comment would be chosen to become a recipient of this beautiful Akulmek gift, absolutely free, delivered to your doorsteps. The winner would also get a chance to be invited live as a distinguished panelist during our next video. What are you waiting for, friends? Please subscribe Akulmek and smash that like button.